Hello, my name is Diane, and today I want to talk about some of the books coming out in January. These are the books that I've seen that I think sound the most interesting. Most of these are fantasy with some sci-fi mixed in. The first two are sequels in series, and the rest of them are either standalones or first book in series. So without further ado, the first book I want to talk about coming out on January 9th is The Slain Divine by David Dalglish. This is the third and final book in the Vagrant Gods trilogy. In this installment, we're going to finally get our conclusion. The God Incarnate is on his way, ready to roll out his plan to become even more powerful, and that plan is not going to be very good for the people that live on this island. Meanwhile, the rebellion is struggling at this point. They're not really sure who within their ranks they can trust anymore. Particularly Cyrus is struggling with the mask he wears to take on the persona of the Vagrant. Gives him enough power that he could stand up to the God Incarnate, but it may come at a much higher price than he's willing to pay. I really enjoyed the story in the Sapphire Altar and seeing all of these things get more complicated, more difficult, and the stakes get higher as we went, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this story concludes, how everything is going to build up in this last installment, and see if this rebellion makes it through together and takes back their island from this empire. Then coming out on January 16th is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. This is the second book in the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett. In the first book, we had Emily Wilde writing her Encyclopedia of Fairies. Alongside her was her friend and scholar Wendell Bambleby. In this one, she is now working on a map of the Otherlands, obviously from the title. So they are together again in the Austrian Alps, and she is trying to put this map together. And once again, Bambleby is causing some trouble for her. We now know who he is and a bit of his past, and it is definitely catching up to them and causing a lot of problems. So Emily is trying to work on her project, but also trying to help Bambleby because at this point their feelings for each other have gotten very complicated. So this should be another mix of scholarly research, but also some fae trouble. I had a lot of fun with the first book in this, so I am looking forward to seeing if that continues on through this sequel. It sounds like it will, though. Also coming out on January 16th is The Storm Gathers by Malin Holiday. This is the first book in the Stormfall series. In this book, we have a few main characters, the first of which is Alana Zaya. She was forced from her home 5 years ago, and now she has the opportunity to return and take her place on the throne. However, on her voyage home, they are intercepted by pirates, and she is now stranded at sea with a bunch of strangers who seem to have a bunch of secrets, and she has some of her own as well. Elsewhere, we have Raytoma, who for years has used her skills against the people who trained her. She is a rebel, and because of this, she's been forced to flee into the Shatter, which is a maze that no one has ever made it out of. While she's there, she meets a storm witch who is determined to prove herself to the world. All of these characters are far from home and uncovering lots of dark secrets. This sounds like it should be a very interesting story, an interesting world with some danger and plenty of mystery. Also coming out on January 16th is The Longest Autumn by Amy Avery. In this world, we have 4 humans whose job it is to escort the seasons into and out of the mortal world. Our main character is responsible for autumn. However, on this particular year, when she passes through the mirror with autumn, it shatters, and now they're both stuck in the mortal world with no way to get back. This has consequences for Autumn as a god becoming more mortal the longer it is stuck in this world, and also for the mortal world because now they are trapped in a permanent Autumn. So now Autumn is becoming more vulnerable, and our main character is working with the priesthood to reassemble this mirror and hopefully find a way back to the godly world so that this eternal Autumn can end and things can get back to normal. Because if not, this is going to have very bad consequences for not just Autumn, but for everyone. Also coming out on January 16th is The Parliament by Amy Pakwatka. In this story, we follow Madigan Purdy, who is stuck in her town's library with all of her students when the library is descended upon by tens of thousands of owls. These aren't just regular owls, they are murder owls, so obviously very dangerous. No one can go outside. Within the library, they are very quickly running out of supplies, so Madigan needs to find a way to keep everybody safe and somehow get out of this situation. I don't really know what to expect from this book, but it just sounds so weird. And that, to me, is very interesting. Just a bunch of people stuck in a library that is completely surrounded by owls. Then coming out on January 23rd is Exordia by Seth Dickinson. The story follows Anna, who is a refugee, a survivor of genocide, and she has a close encounter that reveals something very threatening. We also have Srin, who is a many-headed serpent on the run from her own past. These two are somehow drawn together, and the stakes within the story are earth-threatening. There's some sort of disaster that leads Anna to join a team who are investigating a mysterious broadcast and trying to save the world from whatever has happened. I'm not really sure what the major event in this world is, but it sounds like it's something very big and very terrifying. And these people now have to figure out some way to hopefully help humanity survive. Sounds like it should be a pretty suspenseful sci-fi. And the last book I want to talk about coming out on January 30th is The City of Stardust by Georgia Summer. In this story, we have the Everleys, which is a family that their best and brightest are taken as a punishment for something that nobody even remembers anymore, and they're not really sure why these people are being taken either. But the person in charge of taking them is this woman called Penelope, and she never ages, she never gets sick, and she never forgets this debt. Violet is one of the Everleys. She was a child when her mother left. Her mother was set on breaking this chain, and Violet at this point is the last in the Everley line, and she has been given 10 years to find her mother or take her place. So Violet sets out to find her mother and find some way to break this curse. So alongside Violet, we have to figure out what this curse is, where it all began, and what happened to her mother when she went by herself to try and stop it. Sounds like it should be a pretty interesting adventure to unravel this mystery with Violet. So those are all the books coming out in January that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. Let me know if there's any that you're looking forward to. That's all for me today. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.